Les gens, les boxeurs qui ont un style très agressif, ils ont toujours ces t-shirts un peu à la Tyson, là, les shorts du cou, un petit peu.
And when I say you must obey, just like the both of you took my
Et là, Maïva, ce sont les deux.
Ouais, le crochet. Magnifique shot.
Ah, c'est un vrai coup au corps.
Et ouais, le crochet au foie, il a touché.
Ah, c'est un vrai coup au corps.
Pendant Bigouan, encore un rouge.
Et là,
Elle est dur là, qui a arrêté.
oui, forcément, elle remet un genou au sol.
Et elle regarde son point.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, ahead of his fight this weekend with Tyler McCreary, Carl Frampton had this to say. He says he's targeting gold, and he wants to become a world champion in a third weight class. Bob Arum, who Carl's in bed with right now, he's gone on to say that he would make Jamel Herring, the WBO 130-pound champion, available to him if he's successful. And, these are just my thoughts on that. Look, I got nothing against Carl. I think Carl's a sensational fighter, or at least he was a sensational fighter. But at this point in the juncture, it all boils down to a simple question for me. Is Carl really cut out to bang with the big boys at 130?
No!
And I don't think so. I don't. I mean, Carl Frampton just doesn't have the dimensions for the real bangers in that weight class. He doesn't.
Sorry.
I mean, think about it. Carl Frampton versus Mickey Roma. Could you imagine that?
Can I get him killed?
Carl Frampton versus Miguel Berchelt. Could you imagine that?
Can I get him killed?
Carl Frampton versus the ever-present judicious jab of Jamel Herring. The counterpunching, the length, the mobility,
It's too much.
I mean, I don't think Carl's cut out to be at 130. God bless him. God bless his heart. God bless his ambition. But I don't see him winning a fight with those kinds of guys. Not at 130, no, sir. In all honesty, even if he's successful this weekend against Tyler McCreary, even if he wins in good fashion, if he is to move on from that fight into a WBO title fight with Jamel Herring is going to beat the shit out of him. Doesn't matter where the fight is. Carl's backyard, Jamel's backyard, fucking Empire State Building, doesn't matter. Jamel beats him, okay? I think Lowell Carl has hit a ceiling. He's seen better days. He's getting long in the tooth, the same as anybody else. And I don't see 130 being very kind to him. Not unless he's just very fucking careful, honestly. So, we'll see what happens with that. We'll see if Carl even moves on from this weekend's fight. We'll see, but like I said, if they put him in there with Jamel, yeah, I got Jamel. And more anecdotal news. I saw Michael Montero of Montero Boxing post a poll on Twitter. And he was talking about, 2 4-division champions who, at least according to him, have had very lackluster runs as 4-division champions. Talking about Leo Santa Cruz and Mikey Garcia. And I just thought it strange that he could talk about Mikey Garcia in that kind of a context.
Why?
I understand the gripes associated with Leo Santa Cruz. I do. Leo Santa Cruz, for all that 4-division talk, really hadn't fought anybody with a pulse in a very long time. But when he puts Mikey Garcia in that conversation, in that kind of a context...
Wait a minute.
I got nothing against Michael. I don't. I think he's a knowledgeable fight fan. For what it's worth, I think that he's one of the more unbiased guys that are out there. But it's odd coming from him. This kind of a
critique?
Anecdote to talk about Mikey Garcia in this kind of a context. Are you kidding me? Michael's a Golovkin fan, or at least he was. I don't know if he still is, but he's a big Golovkin fan. And I didn't see Michael, calling Gennady Golovkin's quality of competition lackluster.
Even though it was.
But you're going to turn around and say that about Mikey? Hey, I got a question. Who's beaten more world champions? Gennady Golovkin or Mikey Garcia?
Huh?
Who's beaten more world champions? Vasyl Lomachenko or Mikey Garcia?
Huh?
Who's been a champion in more weight classes? Gennady Golovkin, Vasyl Lomachenko or Mikey Garcia?
Answer it.
The only reason that Mikey Garcia doesn't grace the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list is because of the rules that govern it. Mikey Garcia's got to get a world title before he can get a spot, but as soon as he does, he's in there like swimwear. Because the fact of the matter is that his quality of competition is arguably better than theirs. I mean, it's not even a debate when it comes to Gennady Golovkin. You know, Mikey's quality of competition is head and shoulders above Gennady Golovkin's. That's just a fact, okay? That's just a fact. We're talking about, what, 4 or 5 champions Mikey beat through the course of 4 weight classes? You gonna sneeze at that when you're watching Jorge Linares get starched as soon as he moves up 1 weight class to 140? Jose Pedraza. I mean, those are 2 of Vasyl Lomachenko's best wins, right? Those 2 guys. Those 2 guys moved up, you know, to the next weight class, got their fucking asses kicked. Mikey's moved up, what, 3 times? He's fought in 4 weight classes total.
5, actually.
And the only time, really 5. And the only time he got beat was when he stepped up too high to 147. I mean, do you think you're going to see Vasyl Lomachenko go all the way up to 147?
No.
You know, let's not kid ourselves here. I'm not slighting those fighters. I'm just saying that comparatively, if you have respect for their track records, then you should also respect Mikey's. Mikey beat an undefeated champion in Robert Easter, undefeated champion in Sergey Lipinets, undefeated champion in Dejan Zlatijanin. He beat Roman Martinez before Vasyl Lomachenko did it. And unlike Vasyl Lomachenko, Mikey's got a win over Orlando Salido. You don't have to fucking like it. It's still the truth. It's not an anecdote. That's reality.
It is.
So when I saw this poll, you know, I kind of thought to myself, it's kind of short-sighted of Michael, of all people,
A Triple G fan.
to try to slight Mikey Garcia and compare his resume to Leo Santa Cruz's. Hey, I understand all the complaints associated with Leo Santa Cruz. I really do. I do. But I wouldn't go comparing Leo to Mikey. Okay? Mikey's resume is a tad bit more ambitious, I should say, than Leo's.
And Golovkin.
And lest we forget, you know, Mikey did something, and I think it was a calculated risk, and the only reason he took it was because it comes with a built-in excuse. But better still, he did it. He jumped from 135 up to 147 to take on an undefeated champion. That's more than we can say.
That either Vasyl Lomachenko.
Or Gennady Golovkin, guys like that, guys that Michael's sweet on. I think that's more than either of those guys have done. So, you know, like I said, the facts are the facts, okay? Mikey's fought in more weight classes, been a champion in more weight classes, and beat more world champions than those guys. So you gotta respect it. I don't like that he prioritized Spence over Vasyl Lomachenko. I think that was rather boneheaded, honestly. But that doesn't take away from what he's done so far. And that deserves respect. Because if it was so fucking easy to move up in weight 3 or 4 times, why hasn't Gennady Golovkin done it?
Why not?
I mean, honestly. You know, Leo did it, but he didn't do it against world champions like Mikey did. You know? He didn't move up to his 4th weight class and take on an undefeated champion, then move back down and fight another one. You know? I mean, if it's so fucking easy, why didn't it work out for Jorge Linares?
Yeah.
Why didn't it work out for Jose Pedraza?
Yeah.
Aren't those Vasyl Lomachenko's best wins? Aren't those quality guys? Didn't work out for them the way it worked out for Mikey, and they weren't fighting champions. He was. So give the man a little respect. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to like all his business practices. I don't either. But what's been put down, what has been done, is irrefutable. So give the man some respect. If you was sitting around gushing about how Gennady Golovkin's a pound-for-pound fighter, oh my God, he's so dominant, then I don't see how you could turn around and criticize Mikey Garcia and what he's done, because facts are, he's beat more world champions than Golovkin. As it stands, Gennady Golovkin only actually unseated one active reigning world champion. I mean, what are you telling me, that Daniel Gill, Curtis Stevens, and Willie Monroe are better than beating 3 undefeated world champions, about 4 or 5 total? Give me a break. Just saying, give Mikey a little bit more respect, because I think he deserves it. I don't agree with everything he does, but, you know, for what it's worth, he's got a pretty goddamn good career, pretty goddamn good resume. That's all I'm saying. Moving on. As expected, the Adames versus Teixeira fight has been elevated to a full title fight, it being that Jaime Munguia recently announced he's gonna be making his middleweight debut against Spike O'Sullivan. Thus, he is forced to leave the WBO title behind, making it available for both Adames and Teixeira to fight for. And that fight's going down this weekend on the undercard of what is Oscar Valdez's debut in the 130-pound division. He's going to be headlining that card against Mexican veteran Andre Gutierrez. And you know, let's talk about Adames-Teixeira for a second. I think Adames is going to win that fight. I've said that before. I think he's going to become the WBO's junior middleweight champion, but I think he's going to be a man that's stuck on an island, because most of the action, most of the world titles in the junior middleweight division, they're on the PBC side of things. There have been talks of some cross-promotional fights, some top-rank versus PBC kind of stuff, in association with the Wilder versus Fury rematch set to go down early next year. And, while I like those talks, I like the idea of that, maybe the PBC is going to cut the shit and let the best guys fight the best guys, regardless of what outfit they're with. While I like the idea of that, there's no evidence that this will be a long-lasting solution, that we can expect more of this, because as it stands here today, we don't even know that that's what the card is actually going to look like. All we've been hearing are preliminary talks, and anyone familiar with boxing news knows that the news is fluid and ever-changing. Thus, in all likelihood, Adames might end up being a man on an island. He might end up being a champion, but his reign as a champion might look a lot like Zurdo Ramirez's reign at 168 when he was a champion. He was there for a while. He was the longest reigning champion in the division, but he really wasn't fighting anybody that anybody cared about. That might happen to Carlos Adames. It might. You think about Oscar Valdez's move up to the 130-pound division. And this is going to sound eerily familiar to what I just said about Carl Frampton, but the same applies. I don't think 130 is going to be very kind to Oscar, and I don't say that to slight him. He's a fun fighter to watch, very fan-friendly style, all action, offense guy, lots of heart this guy, but not lots of defense. And if you're moving up in weight and you're an action guy who's got those defensive holes, it's going to be more punishing on you than someone else. He's going to be facing Mexican veteran Gutierrez. And, Andre's got a pretty hefty number of wins, pretty hefty number of knockouts. He's going to be there to greet Oscar Valdez on what is his maiden voyage to the 130-pound division. I mean, there's room for it to be a banana peel. If not now, then sometime later. Because Oscar Valdez doesn't really have very generous dimensions for the 130-pound division. There's a lot of tough guys in that weight class, A lot of tough guys, a lot of big hitters. And being an all-action guy, I don't know how that's going to bode for Oscar. It just brings me back to what I said about Carl. That, Carl, God bless him, I don't know how cut out he is for 130, and same applies for Oscar, Seems like it's a banana peel waiting to happen, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes this weekend, And finally, I wanted to talk about Golden Boy Promotions releasing Andrew CANCIO from his contract. A real chicken and the egg kind of situation, Essentially, Andrew CANCIO went into last weekend's fight with some concerns that he vocalized in regards to whether or not Golden Boy Promotions was really pushing him, was really promoting him. That he wanted to fight at bigger venues, and he wanted to fight for bigger purses. That, he wanted to co-feature on the Canelo versus Kovalev card, but Ryan Garcia got to co-feature, and Ryan Garcia is not a champion of any kind, which didn't make a lot of sense to Andrew. And he voiced these concerns, but in voicing them, he seems to have pissed off Eric Gomez, Golden Boy's president. It's one of those situations where...
Is it wrong to speak up?
You hear that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but sometimes the squeaky wheel, it gets replaced. No more treading that tire. It's time to get you the fuck out of there. And I think that's how Golden Boy handled the situation. Now, Andrew CANCIO being released from Golden Boy doesn't have to be the end of the world, and it doesn't have to be the end of his career. He could still stay on the DAZN side of things if Matchroom picks him up, and I think they would. I think they would, because they need guys for the likes of a Tevin Farmer to fight. So I could see Andrew bouncing back with them. But essentially the question here is, did Golden Boy handle the situation as they should have, or was this an instance of them being slime balls? Well,
let's look at
that's what makes this a chicken and the egg kind of situation. Before he was released from his contract, Andrew CANCIO essentially felt that he wasn't important to Golden Boy, and they kind of proved that by releasing him in this fashion. I mean, if he mattered to them, if he was pivotal to them, I don't think they would have handled the situation this way, because when both Ryan Garcia and Canelo Alvarez made some inflammatory comments about Golden Boy as a promotional company, they were treated with a lot more concern, a lot more reverence. But then again, neither one of them lost their fights, did they? So there's also that to consider. I think this is a situation to where Andrew is better off somewhere else, regardless of how it happened. I don't think he's going to get the kind of time, attention, and reverence with Golden Boy that he might get somewhere else, somewhere with someone that actually wants to see him do better, see him go on to do bigger and better things. I don't think he's going to get that with Golden Boy. So even though him voicing those concerns might just be what got him released from that contract, it could turn out to be a blessing in disguise.
Maybe.
Because you know what? If things were going the way you wanted them to, well, you would have never had to complain. I mean, look at it this way. Andrew wanted to be treated better, and I don't blame him. But who doesn't? When you start thinking about what Canelo means to Golden Boy, and you start thinking about what Ryan will mean to Golden Boy, it's not hard to see that, yeah, of course they put more priority on those two guys than they're going to put on you. Because in Canelo, well, that's their top moneymaker. What do you expect? And in Ryan, Ryan's a real young guy, undefeated guy, all this upside, whole career ahead of him. And you look over at Andrew. Andrew's got 5 losses already, 31 years old, this guy. That's how they're looking at it. You might not like the sound of it, but that's the truth of it. They're looking at it as this guy's got, 21 wins, 5 losses now, 5. Couple of draws in there, too. 31-year-old guy, we don't get a lot of upside from this guy. How much more are we going to get out of this guy? And then they see that guy is complaining. Well, that's going to chap their ass. It certainly chapped Eric Gomez's ass. So it's a case of causality.
Cause and effect.
That if you tell them or the world that you're not happy with the situation at Golden Boy, what Golden Boy might do is remove you from that situation. And CANCIO losing that fight, well, that did it. You gotta wonder, had he not lost the fight, would they have released him? I think that's a good question.
It is.
I mean, had he not lost the fight, if he would have went out there, won the fight in the same fashion that he beat Machado 2 times, right? Crowd-pleasing fashion, would Golden Boy have released him? I don't think so. I don't think they would have reacted this way. I think they might have tried to smooth things over a bit. Not with all the same time and attention and effort that they'd put into Canelo or Ryan, but I think they would have tried. Losing that fight tipped the iceberg, That's what that did. And it doesn't have to be the end of the world for CANCIO. 5 losses, so what? Derek Chisora's got 9. He's still out here fighting people, beating them up, knocking them out, making money, looking good doing it, Mickey Roman, he already had losses in the double digits when he got that title shot with Miguel Bachel. And doesn't have to be the end of the world for Andrew. It all depends on where he lands and what goes on. But it really is causality. It really is a cause and effect, matter of fact kind of situation. You made some inflammatory comments, subsequently lost your next fight. So, Golden Boy did what I think a lot of people would have expected them to do in that situation. Boxing can be a very harsh business inside and outside the ring. And that's the most that resonates with me in light of this news.